You know, I'm going to give you a history lesson.
We got some dumbass motherfuckers floating around this country.
Stop laughing! And when I do, start.
Also, y'all did some nasty-ass jokes on my ass, too.
Funny jokes and unfunny jokes come out of the same birth.
You f***ing guys are unbelievable.
Why are you laughing?
Evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Why You Laughing, a history of comedy podcast. And today, I am pleased to introduce to you Brian Regan Live, his 1997 album, probably his most quoted album. We did a Brian Regan album a couple of years ago, I Walked on the Moon. And I remember saying, and I believe this is true, I'm now at the point in my life where my memories are just how I remember them. They might not be what actually happened. But I believe I Walked on the Moon was the first comedy album that I ever owned the CD of and had on repeat over and over and over again. And then when I went to do this album, I remember, I definitely heard this first. Right. I can't remember where I would have heard it, but I absolutely heard this album first. It was my first introduction to Brian Regan, and I remember looking it up. Maybe I found it on LimeWire or whatever I used back then, because I remember finding an old Opie and Anthony clip where they talked about Brian Regan, and they said the big yellow one is the sun, and Anthony was doing his impression of him, and I said, I got to find this guy. And and so I remember finding this album, and it is probably his most quoted, maybe more than I Walked on the Moon. It's hard to say with Regan. He's so underappreciated, but I think if you're a real comedy fan, he's so beloved, and you listen to his stuff over and over again. And he's so influential in comedy, which I don't think he gets enough credit for. And he's also a guy that, like I said, one of my early favorites, so I want to pay homage to him on this podcast. But he's a very private guy. There doesn't seem to be a lot of controversy around Brian Regan, so there's not a ton to talk about in terms of his personal life or anything, at least that's come across my desk. So I figured, going back and reviewing these specials is the best way to pay tribute to one of the greats. So today we will be discussing Brian Regan Live from 1997. And we will get into it in a moment after I tell you to go to blindmike.net, which is where all of our links are. If you want to support this program, get early access by becoming a Patreon or YouTube member for as little as $5 a month. You could have been listening to this a week ago if you were back there. You also get bonus content like the crossover episode. If you liked Carl, who was on last week, we did a crossover episode with him a couple weeks ago, breaking down Julia Fox's book. We've been watching the Baldwins back there for members, so check all that stuff out. Baldwin's finale this week. It's very exciting. So make sure you check out all that stuff if you're a member, or just support the show for free by liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing. All that helps new people find the program. And if you're on YouTube right now, smash that like button, comment away, and let us know how much you love Brian Regan. All right, this is, let's get into it. This episode will definitely be demonetized because I couldn't find any clips less than 2 minutes. That's how much I love this album. So I say we just dive in. And right out of the gates, it's classic bit after classic bit. I forget how tight this hour was, where it was. And I Walked on the Moon, I think, was more geared towards his adult life and social commentary, where this one is very much focused on him being a kid. I'm curious if he did that on purpose. But we start with his opener here.
All right. How you doing, folks? Looks like you're all sitting there. Hey, pal, you got some jokes? Why don't you start cranking them out, circus boy? It's good to be here. Just trying to go through life without looking stupid. It's not working out too well. Sometimes you'll say the right thing, but at the wrong time and feel stupid, you know? Something like, you toe. I was getting out of a cab at the airport, and the driver goes, hey, have a nice flight, you toe.
This is so, I think about this all the time now.
I do this all the time.
That's what I mean. It's like this bit is so, it takes over your brain, because once you hear it for the rest of your life. You think about it. Like since then, I've always thought of like when your waitress says enjoy your meal and you're like, you too, thank you.
That's exactly the example I was going to say.
Yeah, it's constant how much you think about it. And the fact that Brian was the first one to that is pretty incredible. It's like I personally think that Brian Regan is a better comic than Seinfeld. We'll get that out of the way. But similar to Seinfeld, I think it is incredible the way they get to these bits. Not that they're the first person to observe it, because you might have said, prior to this Brian Regan album, it's certainly possible people said like, "Oh, I'm an idiot." I said, "You too." Well, they're not going to dinner with me. That doesn't make any sense. But you don't know how to tie it into something relatable to where it's not just a dumb comment about yourself. Like he was able to make a bit out of it, which is a really incredible thing for something that you would think like, oh, everyone already knows this. How am I going to turn it into something funny?
And the difference between him and Seinfeld is Jerry's still stuck in 87.
Oh, yeah.
He changes with the times.
He has evolved, and he got more personal, like in his latest special when he has gray hair now. He talks about his OCD. And I remember he was on Rogan talking about that as if it was like Chris Rock talking about his affair. He's like, that was a really big step for me. It was. You could tell it was a very big change for him to get that personal.
Yeah.
You too. You have a nice flight too, in case you ever fly someday. Don't anybody look at me. I'm a moron. Don't know when to say the you too phrase. I can't handle it. I never learn, like a waitress will bring my meal. Hey, enjoy your meal. You too. But you don't have one, do you? I'm a doofus. If you do enjoy when you eat it, if you have a break or something later, you get an opportunity. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all that I'm driving at, really, if you think about it. That's all.
I think what we're about to hear here is what was going to be my closing catchphrase to end this program. And I was shamed out of it. Early on, if you go back and listen to the first few episodes, that what you're about to hear is what I would say to end these, to pay tribute to Brian Regan. And it never quite clicked, but
I never liked it.
I think it fits. You guys tell me. You ever start to say something and in the middle of what you're saying, you decide to say something else completely? There's already words out there. These friends were leaving the other day and I started to say, hey, take care. And I decided to say good luck instead, like halfway through, So it came out in neither. See you later, Brian. Take luck. Take luck and care. Take care of the luck. Good luck taking care of the luck that you might have. If you have luck, take it and care for it. Take luck, care of it. When you take all care of it. You're sure to see them again.
What's awesome about so take luck is what I would say to end the podcast, and everyone laughed at me. So I said, all right, I guess I can't do it. I'm not pulling it off. But what's amazing about Brian is his ability. You can tell he's a very smart, observant guy. Mm-hmm. And his ability to make himself sound like a driveling moron. Because his that delivery is so perfect for an idiot. And what's amazing and what makes him such a great comic is you can tell he's not an idiot, yet you believe that in these stories he is the idiot that he's talking about. That's a tightrope act that he's walking. Because if he was as dumb as he's portraying, you wouldn't really be interested in what he's saying. So you have to come across as smarter than that, but also be believably self-deprecating. And he managed to thread that needle so perfectly on every one of his comedy albums. That is a real skill that not a ton of people have, the ability to sound smart and idiotic at the same time. I think it might be part of my problem with Seinfeld is Seinfeld doesn't present like the schlub at all. Like in these stories where like he talking about his stand-up, I think he does a better job at it on his sitcom, oddly. I wonder why that is. I wonder who wrote those. But in Seinfeld's stand-up, he comes across so polished that you don't always believe him as the schlemiel, if you will. Whereas Brian plays that role very well.
Next we have gender.
This, I mean, talk about ahead of your time. This is Brian was decades early on this.
Have you ever guessed somebody's gender wrong? There's no recovering from that. You just got to move on because you ain't wriggling out of nothing, you know? Hey, excuse me, sir? Ma'am. Okay. Okay, bye. Bye, human. Bye, person. Nice to meet you, individual.
Nice to meet you, individual. And his Rolodex of words is very good too. Like I think probably he was a big influence on Gary Gulman. Gary Gulman's a guy I talk about a lot. That his vocabulary is tremendous. Like I'm kind of in awe when I hear Gary Gulman, the pantheon of words he's able to choose from. And Regan has a little bit of that, where you hear him just like the language he chooses to use typically fits perfectly.
Next we have crank calls.
Yeah, so this like it is so. When I heard this album, I'm guessing I was only 6 when it came out, so I'm guessing I was probably 10 or 11 when I first heard it. And you are like when you're a child, this is so relatable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think definitely at the time it was relatable to adults, and I think Brian's older stuff now you might hear it, and like we say with so many other guys, so many people have done a version of this over the years that it almost sounds hack, even though he was the first to tread on this ground, really. But like when you hear this as a kid, you're like, "Oh, is this guy in my head? What is he doing? How does he do this?"
I was a pretty stupid kid also. I used to get talked into making crank calls, you know? My older brothers and friends would just stand around me. Okay, Brian, make some crank calls. Make some crank calls. And I get all nervous and mess them up. Do you have frog legs? No, do you serve them? No, do you have them? You're stupid. Brian, relax, man. You gotta relax when you make the crank calls. Do another one, concentrate. Is your refrigerator running? It's not. Oh. It's not. No, it's not. Okay, you have a good day now. Hey, clock.
Hey, call back.
An early one.
His voice. I don't know how he hasn't gotten more voiceover, like cartoon, like animation work.
I know.
But like honestly, he'd be a great character in a show like Big Mouth or something, because his voice is both so adult and polished, but also so believable as the kid you know what I mean? Like you hear that voice and you believe he's the dumb kid panicking, making these prank calls. And also like his ability to, I don't know a lot of, particularly in the 90s and early 2000s when, you know, therapy and all that stuff, it wasn't as big and accepted as it is now. Now everyone's very introspective because they've all gone to hours of therapy and they talk about themselves nonstop on social media. Now everyone looks inward. At this time, to portray the voice of a kid and have that anxiety of a child be so relatable for problems that are seemingly meaningless, like that's an incredible skill to pull that off so that it's relatable to kids and adults. Because like I said, I remember being a kid going, "Holy fuck! How does he know my anxiety that well?" and we, me and the Skirts saw Regan at the Wilbur probably 2-3 years ago, and the audience is littered with kids.
Yeah,
like it's a mix of kids and adults.
Just like I know, I'm sure he'll come up at some point, but like Gaffigan and him are very similar.
Yeah.
Where it's like Gaffigan will do like his voice is almost like an audience perspective.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm glad you said that too, because I wanted to say I think I don't know this because they came up at a similar time, so maybe it's just a coincidence. But I wonder if Regan's voice was an influence on that Gaffigan voice.
Yeah,
because Gaffigan's voice is like both his subconscious and the audience.
Yeah,
that voice that he does, like, oh, what is he doing? That voice.
Right. Yeah,
that's Regan's whole thing. Like when right there, you heard it when he goes, "Oh no."
Well, I was going to say Regan's voice is almost like what his brain is thinking.
Yes. Yeah.
But next we have a classic bit, spelling rules.
Okay, let's hear this.
I remember my teacher asked me, Brian, what's the I before E rule? I before E. Always. What are you, an idiot, Brian? Apparently. So she explains it, no, Brian, it's I before E, except after C, and when sounding like A, as a neighboring way, and on weekends and holidays, and all throughout May, and you'll always be wrong no matter what you say. That's a hard rule. That's a rough rule. Plurals were hard, too. Brian, how do you make a word a plural? You put a S. You put a S at the end of it. When? Weekends and holidays. No, Brian, no, let me show you. So she asked this kid who knew everything, Erwin, what is he plural for ox? Oxen. The farmer used his oxen. Brian, what? Brian, what's the plural for box? Boxen. I bought 2 boxen of donuts.
Just real quick, like, I can't get over his ability to, like, relate to the stress of a kid, because I was a kid that never did my schoolwork and was never prepared when I would be called on. And just that, the way he captures, it's not like, oh, aren't kids dumb or aren't kids ill-prepared? He's able to capture that feeling of like, what? please stop calling on me.
Yes.
No, Brian, no. Let's try another one. Erwin, what is he plural for? Goose. Geese. I saw a flock of geese. Brian, what? Brian, what's the plural for? Moose. Moosin! I saw a flock of moosin! There are many of them, much moosin! Out in the woods, in the woodsin! The meat's wanting food, food is to eating, is it? The meat's wanting food and in the wooding in, is it? And the food in the wooding, is it? Brian, you're an imbecile. Imbecilin'!
There's a subtle brilliance in the writing of that joke too, where the obvious punchline would be he'd say meese instead of moose.
Yeah.
And he's still on oxen. He's still on the one prior to it. It's very subtle but genius.
He's the best.
He really is. That's what. By the way, if you've never watched one of these reviews that we do, when it's a guy like Regan, there's not a lot to say. We just go, "Isn't he awesome, folks?"
Like, oh, this next bit, love it.
Another good one. Would you believe it?
But that actually, the spelling one is the one I think of the most with this special.
And there's something about his voice, not just his delivery, but like his actual voice, where like in any other hands, that when he's freaking out at the end there and he's in the woods, in like when he's doing that.
Yeah.
In a different voice, that could just sound psychotic, and you'd be like, "What is this?" But Brian, there's like a charm to it, like just his voice. It's nice hearing it come out of his mouth,
and it's so funny too. This one obviously doesn't have video, but like his facial expressions make it even funnier.
Yeah, he is cartoonish. It is amazing, man. Maybe he didn't want it, but like it is bizarre to me. He's never had more acting work. He's great in the show. You ever seen Loudermilk?
No.
I don't know how popular it was. I think it's a Showtime show.
I think Will Sasso.
Or maybe Stars. Yeah, Will Sasso is great in it. But Brian Regan plays a great character and sort of dark. Like, it's a funny character, but he's like a drunk that doesn't have a relationship with his kids. Like, it's you get to hear him curse, which is fun. It's a grittier character than you'd expect, and he's like actually a good actor. So it is weird to me that he's never had more acting roles, because he is so expressive and like physical, and he's so good at that.
Next we have Science Project.
Yeah, this is the classic. This is, I think, one of the most cool. We don't do it enough here, where I always say there's like a few bit, we refer to like Hot Pockets or The Machine or whatever, like when people think of encore bits. But Brian Regan will literally do an encore where he's like, all right, which ones do you want to hear? And inevitably someone will be like, Give us big yellow one as the sun.
Well, he gets heckled this in Epitome of Hyperbole, I think,
Mhm.
and like interrupts his whole show, and he's like, "Yep."
We'll have to do that one. That'll have to be the next Regan album we do, Epitome of Hyperbole.
That's my favorite by far.
I think the worst day was the day the science project was due. Waking up that morning, that was fun, huh? Yeah. Your head would pop off your pillow. Oh, no. It's due today. I had 9 months to work on it. I did nothing. I have a cardboard box of boxing. And you'd show up, you're scared because you don't have anything good, and you find out all the other kids, their parents made theirs for them. I hated that, you know? They're backing them in on flatbed trucks. One kid with a volcano. He didn't have to zip up his own pants, but he built a volcano. You had to swing that.
This was every assignment to me. This was every morning I'd wake up and go, oh no.
I was going to say that's the most relatable thing he's ever said.
And by the way, that written on paper, that oh no, like in any other hands wouldn't be nearly as funny. Because your instinct would be to go, oh no, or some variation of that, like him going, oh no. That's where delivery is so key, and Regan's a great example of it.
Because he nails it. Because it's oh no, as in like obviously like I fucked up and didn't do it, and it is my fault.
and it's my fault, and there's just nothing I can do about it. Today's the day. There's nothing.
It's great.
I don't know what to do for my project, so I brought in a paper cup filled with dirt, just hoping she'd know I'm an idiot and just walk right on past me. As long as I was holding something. What do you have there, Brian? It's a cup of dirt. Just put an F on there and let me go. Well, explain it. Well, it's a cup with dirt in it. I call it cup of dirt. You should move on now. You should go ahead and move on. Head on down the line there.
That's what I mean when I say the balancing act between like adult and kid, where he's coming across as an idiot kid where he's like, it's a cup with dirt. And then he's like, move along now. Like his ability to switch between an idiot kid and an incredibly intelligent kid in his presentation.
So she went to this one kid. There was a kid in my class. He made the same solar system like 19 years in a row, bunch of styrofoam balls held together with coat hangers. Hey, you're breaking some new ground there, Copernicus. He's going, the big yellow one's the sun. The yellow one is the sun. Okay, all right, what are these other planets? The big yellow one is the sun. All right, calm down. All right!
It's funny to go back and listen to that track because I think the big yellow one is the sun is by far the least funny part of that bit.
And the most quoted.
Yeah, by like far and away the most quoted. There's some people that don't know who Brian Regan is, but they know the big yellow one's the sun.
Right.
But like I think the cup of dirt part, like it's the rest of that joke stands out to me as so much funnier. And listening to this bit dawned on me. I've done this before. Where I remember a 4th grade project, which is probably around the time that I heard this album. We had to make an invention and present to, I forget where we had to go for it, but we had to present it in front of people that weren't our classmates.
The science fair in the gym?
It was kind of like, no, it was out of the school, but it was kind of like that.
Oh, it was very real?
Yeah. And so that morning I forgot we did it. Oh, it was for old people. We had to go down to a nursing home and present something to old people. So that morning, I totally forgot about it. And I rolled a bunch of aluminum foil to make like a rod. And I put a glove on the end. And I was like, it's an extender, so you can grab things and pick them up. And they're like, this isn't really anything. And I was like,
it's a prototype.
Slap an F on there and move on down the line.
I at least brought something. Next we have Little League.
Okay, this is another great one.
The only compliment I ever got in Little League baseball was, good eye, Brian. Good eye, Brian. Oh, thank you.
Good torso. I noticed you during the trunk rotation.
Good eye. They would say that when you're too scared to even consider swinging the bat. The ball would graze your head at about 100 miles an hour. Ah! Good eye, Brian. Oh, thank you. What did I do? You moved your head out of the way of the fastball. Oh, good. I'm glad I did that. I almost didn't, but then I did. Go team. Go team, go. I used to get scared getting up to bat. And what made it worse was the kids out on the field on the other team. I don't even know these kids. And they're all out there yelling, easy out, easy out. Everybody move in, easy out. How do you handle that when you're 9 years old? Hey, they're walking towards me. The outfielders are playing in on the clay. The infielders are going through my pockets. Easy out. Easy out. I'm like going, hey, that's my gum.
Going through his pockets is such amazing imagery. Like that's a skill I always say Mulaney has, where like you can see a sketch unfolding in your mind based on how he's describing it. You can see the TV show or the movie that this is in, whatever. Like that's a great ability that he has, and it might be why like he had a sketch show on Netflix that I think Seinfeld produced actually, and it might be why something like that's not as successful, or why like Mulaney's sitcom isn't as successful, because when they actually act it out, it's not as good as them describing it. Which to have that level of talent in describing something really is amazing. And the other thing I took from that clip was like the attention or the parody, the imitation that Brian gets is always in the big extreme version of Regan. Mm-hmm. Oh, good. I'm glad I did that. I almost didn't, but then I did. Like that extreme thing that he does. I think my favorite part of Regan might be the little subtle, quiet voices that he does when they go, good eye, Brian. And he goes, oh, thank you. Like, little humble Brian is almost stands out to me more because it's underappreciated.
The bashful Brian.
Oh, thank you.
Next we have driving glasses.
I mean, this really stuck out to me because I always wondered this about people. I never understood it, and I'm glad Brian finally said something about it.
I was in my friend's car the other day. He's driving. He had a pair of glasses on. I said, hey, I didn't know you wear glasses. He goes, oh, I only need them when I drive. What the hell does that mean? Like you get out of the car, boom, I can see. It's beautiful. If you only need glasses when you drive, why not drive with a prescription windshield? Yeah, looking around. Have little bifocals read the street signs, you know? Looking. What? What is that? Oh, that's a cow. Like, I thought that was a stop sign. It's a cow. Okay.
I know, as a young blind boy, I was like, what do you mean you just need them for driving? I don't get it. And thank God for Brian for saying something.
I actually know what they're for. Stigmatisms.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
No. Of course there's an answer. Of course there's a guy that has to ruin the joke, you know?
I'm sorry, dude. My mom had them. So I was like, why? I've never seen her wear glasses except at the car at night.
You hear that, Regan? You're wrong.
Yeah, you piece of shit.
but even like his noises are even great imagery. Like that boom, like you feel that boom when he says it.
Boom, I can see. Next we have another great one: trucks and signs.
Okay, there's a classic one in here.
See weird things driving. I've never understood log trucks. Sometimes you'll be out on a highway, you'll see two big giant trucks, each loaded up with logs, and they pass each other on the highway. I don't understand that. I mean, if they need logs over there, and they need them over there, you'd think a phone call would save a whole lot of trouble.
Go ahead, Craig. Explain the logistics of the logging industry. They're different businesses. We get it.
But I was told to got an order for them. Logs, 3 logs. That's what I did. I brought the logs.
saw this sign posted once. It said, blasting zone ahead. Wow. Shouldn't that read road closed? This blasting zone. What am I supposed to say? Hey, you might want to buckle up. Blasting zone coming up. Yeah, just saw the sign. Put the helmets on back there. Yeah, I think we're getting close. So, this is going to be a bad blasting zone. Remember that last one? We lost Billy.
You got an answer for that one? What's a blasting zone, wise guy?
It's when they
Oh, he does have an answer.
do have an answer. Move on. I do have an answer for that one.
But again, that's where, like, as a kid in particular, I mean, like, as an adult, you can let yourself, well, most of us, except for Craig, can let ourselves suspend disbelief. But as a kid, you're like, Brian, you're saying what I'm thinking. What in God's green earth is a blasting zone?
Where he is right is they are blowing shit up right next to the highway.
Oh, it's a bad blasting zone.
Next, we have Wales.
I think this album might have been in my mind because a week or two ago, I referenced this album, or this joke in particular, and I was like, oh, shit, was that Gaffigan or Regan? And then I had to give myself 50 lashings and pay tribute to Brian Regan, because, of course, this is a Brian Regan joke.
I saw this documentary recently on whales. This guy has dedicated his life to telling you what the whales are saying. Wow. I don't know how you'd argue with him when he turns in his report. And he just throws it down there. Well, here's what the whales are saying. Okay, thanks, Charlie. He's looking back. Here's what the whales are saying. Yeah, Charlie figured it out. They show how he does it. He's out on a ship. He's got a pencil, and he deciphers the whale noises as he hears them. You know, he'll hear like... You know, he's like going, oh, okay. Oh, he's lonely. No, you're lonely. I'd like to do that for like 2 weeks and then turn around and find out that the door's squeaking behind you.
Such a funny reference. By the way, the only other person I've heard do a whale that well is Anthony Cumia when E-Rock was on his honeymoon on the Opie and Anthony show.
Eating some krill.
Yeah. Did you try the krill? I believe was the line. That's whale food. But he has such an ability to expose just things that the average person would not understand. Again, I'm sure a genius like Craig would be able to tell me what the whales are actually saying. But us simpletons, us regular schnooks, think, yeah, he's right. But like, to be able to come up with that and put it in a way that everyone understands what he's talking about is the true genius of Brian Regan.
Next, we have Vacation.
Okay. Oh, this is back to him as a kid, I believe.
Yes.
We would go on vacation in our station wagon. We had a big, giant station wagon. We had the front seat, back seat, and a little tiny seat in the back that faced the opposite direction. The two kids in the back had a completely separate vacation from everybody else. Because the middle area is just loaded to the ceiling. Kids in the back just sat there the whole time, you know, just looking around. I wonder what all these signs say. And you'd spend most of the trip trying not to make eye contact with the cars that came up close behind you. You know, you're looking at them, oh, looking at your shirt. Oh, there he is, okay. Got your shoulder.
That's the one that I could relate to.
That is the obvious reference, again, you would think would be like kids fucking with the people behind them. You know what I mean? Like shooting at them or whatever. For a kid that was about to embark on a 20-year journey through depression, the anxiety of I just don't want these people to notice me. Like for Brian to tap into that in kids at that time really is, it's subtle but brilliant, and it's not done in a way like you don't even know if he had this anxiety as a child. It's not done in a poor me type of way or attention seeking or victimizing or anything like that. It's done very subtly where you don't even, he doesn't mention that he's talking about anxiety, but as someone that dealt with that, I can relate to it and say that's the exact emotion he's tapping into, which is very impressive for the time.
I think when I was like 4 or 5, my parents had a station wagon with that seat he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in traffic and you're in that seat, it sucks.
See, I never had it, so I remember thinking it was cool. Like, I think I had a friend who had one of those hatchbacks or whatever they are, and I wanted to sit in the way back because I was like, oh, this would be awesome. You're seeing driving in reverse, you know?
Yeah. It also didn't help. I get motion sickness. It was a double whammy. I was just sick.
I don't think I clipped. Did I clip the other driving back seat in the middle with my feet on the hump?
I don't
think I did.
I don't think so.
But it was shame on me. I apologize. But he has another great joke about when kids call shotgun. And so he would call back seat in the middle with my feet on the hump. And that became something me and my brothers would say all the time. Like if we weren't getting shot. Back seat, middle, feet on the hump.
It's the worst seat. Next we have injuries.
Oh, this thought is so perfect for how kids would think. Like Brian, at this time, man in his 30s, I would think.
Probably.
His ability to relate to what's rushing through a child's head is so perfect here.
One of our activities is making bike ramps out in the street, because that's where all the cars are. You put a cement block out in the middle of the road, you angle a piece of wood up to it, and the object was for one kid to get on his bike, ride as fast as he could, and see how high he could go. And that's as far as we planned. It wasn't until the first kid was like flipping in the air. What happens now? We don't know. He'd hit a mailbox. We had a bunch of 9-year-old paramedics running up. We didn't know what to do. We get up there. Oh, get some leaves. You do what you can. Hey, that was the easy part. The hard part was being the kid that got sent in first to calm mom down before you dragged in the actual banged up brother. You'd have to be the point man, you know? Go tell mom. Oh, no. It's your turn. Oh, so you'd have to run in. Hey, mom. Oh, okay. Everything's fine. You know, she bought that. Yeah. Everything's fine. I just wanted to run in at full speed. And, say hi and
say hi.
And, okay, so Kevin. Okay, of course. Okay. Well, you know how like his right arm usually it bends. Usually it would bend like that. Okay, it's not bending like that right now. And it's no big deal because we already looked at it, but we were thinking, since you said that you had to go get milk later anyway, so we were thinking since you have to go anyway, then we were all thinking if when you go, if you just might want to take him to the hospital. And if you get peanut butter, get smooth.
I always appreciated that Regan was a smooth guy as well.
Chunky's for losers.
Good. I'm glad the three of us agree on that. but like to personify is not the right word. I'm trying to think of the correct term, but to adultify kids in that way, like to give them that speech allows this. That's why it's relatable to all ages, because you're a kid. You're like, that's what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And as an adult, you're like, it would have been great if I could have articulated it that way, you know?
Right.
So that's truly what he's amazing at. And I'd like to know if I ever get the chance to ask Brian Regan. I would like to know if, so it's this album and then I Walked on the Moon were his two consecutive albums. And I Walked on the Moon is more about the stresses and hangups of adulthood. going to the doctor, socializing at parties, that type of shit. And this is heavily on the anxiety of a child. And I'd like to know if that was purposeful, if he decided that after this album or what, but like it almost seems intentional with how perfectly it worked out. But I think there's also a good chance it was just a happy accident because that's how his mind works.
We have 2 clips left.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this album is just great.
It really is. Like I said, a lot of these clips are long. I'm trying to interrupt them for monetization's sake, but like I couldn't find. I think we only have 1 clip that's less than a minute. Like I couldn't find less than a 2-minute chunk that I felt comfortable leaving out. You know?
Yeah. This one's Pets.
Okay. Oh yeah. Hold on. Sorry. This is a really smart. Like his angle on it is so different than any other Pet material you would have heard at this time. It certainly doesn't seem like the obvious take or the obvious way to write this joke.
I lived in New York City for a while before I came out here. My apartment was really small in New York. I had a goldfish and I had to keep him in a shot glass. It's okay, a little pebble in there for scenery, so.
That feels almost like a Mitch Hedberg joke or something. You know what I mean? Like that almost feels out of character. Just the joke structure of that feels like a different guy than Regan almost. Like Mark Norman maybe or something.
We just want you to know it was a small place.
Yeah.
This is just like the ocean.
I like to watch when you try to turn around there. Filtering system, I take a straw. It's like a jacuzzi room. Oh, yeah. I think people are unfair to their pets, you know? Like putting a pet bird in a cage. That's pretty nice, huh? Get in there, Clank. Shut up. I'll be making the decisions. I always wonder what a bird's thinking standing in a cage. Hey, thank you. Hey, I've been blessed with the gift of flight. Appreciate the environment. I know how to fly. I'm standing on a stack. Hey, I've already read these newspapers. In fact, I've whited out some typos.
The reason I said that joke was so brilliant and like not the normal approach you'd think you would take is because like if you break it down, it's actually like a brilliant commentary on animal cruelty and how we treat our pets and things like that. Like how ridiculous it is that we've captured birds for our own enjoyment. But you're not really thinking about any of that, about how layered it is, because Brian keeps it so silly and absurd.
I've always thought that too. It's probably because of this album. Like you see a bird, and you're like, that sucks. Like,
get in here.
You can't
be making the decisions.
You can't even outstretch your arms in there. We got the closer now.
All right, let's hear it. We're wrapping up. It flew by. We're wrapping up Brian Regan Live, one of the great albums of my childhood. Honestly, it's like there's this, Mitch Hedberg's Comedy Central stuff, Gaffigan's first Comedy Central presents, I think.
First stand-up I ever laughed at because I was like, oh, I get it.
and Kevin James comedy. I think it's God, I'm blanking on the title of that album.
Is that the one when he's got the bit with getting like popcorn stuck in his throat?
Maybe he's walking through the ropes at the bank.
Yes, yeah.
that one. Those full like that was my introduction to comedy. Where, as I say, like when you're a 10-year-old, you're like, how did they do it? Like I was more amazed by these guys than magicians or like amazing athletes or anything. I was like, how the fuck did he know what I was thinking?
and then speaking of magicians, 2003 in high school when Skanks for the Memories comes out, it's just perfect. It was a perfect time period for stand-up.
Well, that's when you get a little more mature. You're like, oh, I can laugh at midgets too. That's fun.
Wow, clowns. There we go.
Why would a dog bark at 3 o'clock in the morning in your neighborhood? What is that all about? I'm not talking about when there's 2 dogs doing, whatever they do. Sometimes you got 2 going at it, Hey! Do you remember when we were chasing that cat? Yeah. You got him mixed up with a stick. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that. That was fun. Yeah. I'm not talking about that. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about when there's one dog, doing a monologue like at 3 o'clock in the morning. What are they doing? I think they just go out on the porch at that hour and just go, hey, it's nice and quiet. Why don't I bark it up for no reason whatsoever? And then right when you think they're done, what the hell's the matter with you? I'm a dog. Barking. How do you argue with them? Wouldn't it be weird if people were like that for no reason? Like if some guy went out on his porch at 3 a.m, nobody knows him. It's like new to the neighborhood, just goes out there, hey! 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 Hey, you all right, man? Hey! Thank you all very much, folks.
Now listen, as an adult, you might go, oh, that's kind of funny. I can't convey to you I feel the tears in my eyes.
Yes.
As I was like, can you imagine a man doing that? It would be ridiculous.
The guy being outside being like, hey, let me in. It's cold. It's cold.
I'm like, Brian, I would get like, I'm like, Brian, enough. Are computers doing this for you? How are you coming up with this?
If you at my high school right now, or my school right now?
Stop it. You stop it right now. No, that's such an amazing album. And I really like, with the way we've advanced as a society in terms of like technology and social media and all that stuff, I don't know if like that album will hold up for young children now. Like maybe things have been just changed too much from the way they're growing up. But like, I would hope that kids of every generation could listen to this album and it gets them into comedy, because I just have such a great love for it, because this early Brian Regan stuff is really what got me to the point I am today with loving and respecting comedy. It's a lot of it is owed to the great Brian Regan.
He's the man. He really is.
He's certainly, and like, again, I know comedy fans appreciate him, but like, I just wish this guy, and maybe, he lives in Nevada, like he's made a nice life for himself. He tours. Maybe he doesn't want any more than that, but it's like, you would just hope as a society, we could all appreciate how genius and amazing this guy is. But you know what? He's probably got the right. Brian Regan actually probably has the exact level of popularity every comedian hopes for at the beginning. You know what I mean? Like at a certain point, when you start making, you're like, well, maybe I can move up to arenas,
Yeah.
But like, I think the true dream of everyone before the fame bug gets them, or they get addicted to money and buying nice things, I personally would think like Brian Regan has the career out. He lives where he wants, kind of away from everything. He has a nice, quiet life, and he sells out theaters all over the country.
I was going to say he does 4 sold-out theater shows every weekend.
Yeah, he just sells out all over the country. I can't imagine, and he can go to a fucking restaurant and not be bothered,
Right.
So I love Brian Regan. I do these episodes to express that, because like I said, he's a somewhat private guy. There's not a ton to talk about as far as his life. So we'll keep doing these albums maybe every year or so in order to pay homage to the great one. And if you guys want to recommend any albums or otherwise episodes we should do, feel free to comment away. Let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or on Patreon or wherever you're consuming this program. If you become a member for as little as $5 a month, you get early access and bonus content over there for Patreon and YouTube members. So we appreciate you guys that do that. Thank you very much. And for those of you that just want to support the show for free, that also helps. If you like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, leave a 5-star review wherever you get podcasts. That also helps. We also do the Blind Mike Project Sundays at 10 a.m. And I am on Who Are These Socials every Thursday at 6 with my pal Carl from Who Are These Podcasts. So check those out. Those links are at blindmike.net as well. And if Brian Regan's a little too clean for you, if you like more of a bad boy, if you like a guy who's gonna push you over the edge, then go to very good. He already knows I'm talking about him. That's what a zany character he is. Go to verygoodshow.org to get a Very Good Show and all that Craig is working on.
Yeah, come on over.
All right. You see that, guys? You don't get that sort of edge on a Brian Regan album.
That's right.
All right. Bye, everybody. And hey, take luck.
Zip it up and zip it out.